ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hobby Mules, a podcast where two dudes delve into the dungeon of tabletop games.
And where the hosts are as based as their minis. I'm Sam.
And I'm Josh. And together we are the Hobby Mules.
Yay!
Sam, what are we talking about today?
Oh boy, we get to talk about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, the ultimate D&D edition.
Oh, the best one by far. I love it. No, I don't.
No, me neither. It has its problems, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Oh boy.
But before we can talk about the specific issues, what is the generalized goal of 5th edition D&D?
So, 5th edition D&D was designed to be accessible by a wide audience, right? So people who aren't big into the tabletop role-playing culture, like newbies, outsiders. It's epic fantasy. That's the nice way to put it. And then there's the not nice way to put it.
Vanilla water. If you water down a genre to the point where you're trying to appease everyone, you end up with no flavor.
Yeah.
No variety.
Everything's pretty similar and alright.
It's
all
dull.
right.
The game out of the box is dull.
Yes. And, well, it's kind of infamous. It's been talked to death. Critical Role may have had a bit of a hand in that.
Yeah, so the problem is the system is a bit plain, and then Critical Role came to massive success by telling these gigantic epic narratives where every single character has sheets and sheets of backstory, and the story's about the characters
rather than about the story the DM's trying to tell with everybody.
Yeah, and this can come at the expense of what the DM is trying to do, and at the expense of the other players' goals.
Right, and that's for one thing pretty mean to do. But also, I almost feel like a lot of the people doing that, or at least some of them, don't quite realize that they're doing it just because, how they perceive the game. It's a conundrum.
It is, because the system is, by design, the most interesting thing is what you're trying to do with your character. So you end up with a bunch of players fighting over who has the strongest, most badass backstory.
Right, the limelight. It's constantly being, push-pulled in many different directions. Yeah. And as with any game, art is huge. And 5th edition art really does set expectations.
It does.
How would you describe it, Josh, in one word?
Bad. Sorry. Sorry, David. It's so tame and samey.
Yeah, somehow I had this thought while actually looking through it when we were originally discussing let's talk about 5e. I was looking through the art, and somehow the orc player character, the human player character, and the tiefling human character, somehow they all blended together in my mind, and I didn't even recognize them as orc, tiefling, and human. They were all human. It was so strange.
Well, that's because everything is just human. An orc is a green human. A tiefling is a human with little horns. Gnome is a short human. There's nothing that sets these races apart personality-wise. It's just a matter of this one has 2 more strength. And wow.
The fact that can come across in the art alone, to me, that's kind of taking a step back. That's kind of absurd.
Yeah, I completely agree. It all blends together. They took the teeth out of a lot of the monsters too.
Oh, yes, they did.
Where what should be a big, terrifying, fear-inducing, player-killing beast is a smooth. Yeah, help me out here, Sam.
A smooth thing. Right? I agree. I think you say it best. They took the teeth, they took the fright out of it. If you look at old D&D art, it shows, the example of 5e's, player handbook art. It is the one PC valiantly fighting a fire giant, and they look heroic.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but they're going toe-to-toe with it. Meanwhile, old art shows 10 player characters. 3 of them are being eaten, 1 of them's on fire, and the rest are running from, 5 bugbears.
Yes.
And those bugbears are scary. The fighters are dead. It's the thief and magic users and maybe the one cleric going, "Oh, we gotta get out of here, guys." And
yeah, well, the villains need to be scary. And right out of the book, In 5e, they are not.
No, they're not. That transitions so well because the monsters themselves and 5e combat in general, just they're all these sacks of armor class and hit points.
Yeah, with no abilities that make them feel unique or cool or deadly.
Or deadly,
They're boring. They're flavorless.
They're very flat. Like, oh, this one has extra ice damage on top of his scimitar swing. Ooh. Oh, that one gets an extra attack.
Yeah. And
isn't that fun?
An initiative out of the box is abysmal. Get ready for four PCs versus 5 goblins. Get ready for an hour and 15 minutes per round of combat.
Yeah, and not to mention, as generally, as rules is written, the DM just going, okay, I gotta do all these monsters, and I gotta keep track of where everyone is in initiative. Oh, someone's holding their action, da-da-da-da-da. And then you get to a player like, oh, I wasn't thinking. Give me a moment.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't just want to complain, I want to offer up alternatives. Mm-hmm. And I know you run your games with a different initiative system.
I do. So I play a really old edition. I play edition 0, so white box combined with I guess like edition 1-ish, basic D&D, Moldvay basic. So the way I do it is I take alternate rules, and the alternate rule is amazing. It is I roll a d6. Well, first the players say even or odd. I roll a d6. If they got it right, everyone acts first. All the player characters act at once, and then all the monsters act at once. And this leads to combat being surprisingly dynamic, interesting, and it's snappy.
Yeah, because now the players have to work together to sequence their actions in the most beneficial way possible. And the monsters are going to do the same.
Exactly. So and that eliminates the problem, too, if it comes to your turn, like, oh, I don't know what to do. Because now everyone's discussing, like, okay, who wants to go here? Who wants to move first? Okay, we need the cleric to move up 4 spaces so someone else can come in. He'll do that. And then we'll all attack this guy like this. It's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, and I could see how it could be a little swingy, but at the same time, the upside definitely outweighs the downside, where you're speeding up the game. You don't have any players that are unengaged.
Mm-hmm.
It's a far better system, and 5e is filled with these situations where you need to change the core rules of the game to make it more enjoyable because you were given a puddle of vanilla ice cream and told have fun.
Precisely so. And one more quick note on monster stat blocks. It is very lazy in my opinion, but just giving a monster just like, oh, here, this monster also has 5 spells. Ugh. Do you know how, I'm sure, Josh, you know how annoying that is. Just, oh, there is this lich with 20 spells. I have to look up every single one of them if I'm going to play this lich to the maximum efficiency. Isn't that great?
Oh, it's fantastic. Now you got to keep track of spell slots and all this. Well, you don't have to, actually, if you're the DM. But 5e also encourages your players to be rules lawyers against you. Isn't that fun?
Isn't that fun?
Because the players each have a rule book sitting directly in front of them.
Yes, they do. And that rule book is the player's handbook. All right. In this edition of the game, the rules are player-facing. They're all in the player's handbook. That's really all you need to play. The DMG is pretty useless with the exception of magic items. And even then, you could make more interesting ones on your own.
Absolutely. Or just look them up online. You don't get a lot of value out of that book.
No, you don't. And it's funny because in the back of the player's handbook, they have a bunch of monster stats for like really common monsters. So the players can know their like hit points, their strengths, their weaknesses. It's pretty absurd the amount of rules just located in that one book.
Yeah, which definitely encourages, like I said, rules lawyering.
Mm-hmm.
And power gaming. And as a DM, there's nothing on this planet that irks me more than a player telling me that something I'm doing deliberately with a monster is wrong.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Or that infamous phrase, now if I were DM. So annoying.
Well, actually.
Like, and then, yeah, that just creates an argument which takes up 10 minutes of game time. And just, like, shoot. It needs to be in the player's handbook, where it's just like the DM has final say. There needs to be something in there, so the DM can literally just point to that book and go, there we are.
Yeah, that is true. And I think you should have that kind of environment at your table anyways, but if my orc, the orcs you're fighting each have, I don't know, heavy armor and extra attacks, and you tell me, well, the one in the book doesn't have that. Okay, so?
Yeah, exactly.
These ones do.
But that's not an orc, Josh. Orcs just have this hit points and they do this damage. It's just upsetting to think about.
It is. And again, you can't blame the players because that's how this system was designed.
Right. It is actively encouraging this behavior with the way the book is laid out and the amount of information, like the type of information, I suppose, given to the players. Okay, so another point is the characters are all very samey. Even with like all their extra rules, thinking on it, like Unearthed Arcana. What are some books? Xanathar's Guide.
Yeah.
Like, okay, 5e presents a lot of options to the players, right? Like, oh, there are all these subclasses, there are all these feats. But somehow, the characters still don't get very interesting, even with all these options. It's just more power gaming stuff. At least, that's how I see it.
Yeah, it's a very min-maxy system. It's hard not to fall into that. Again, that's how the game is designed.
Mm-hmm. This is I'm just getting too angry.
Alright, well, there's this really fantastic Gary Gygax quote that really ties into what we just said. It is the spirit of the game, not the letter of the rules, which is important. Never hold to the letter written, nor allow some barracks room lawyer to force questions from a rulebook upon you, if it goes against the obvious intent of the game. As you hew the line with respect to conformity to the major systems and uniformity of play in general, also be certain that the game is mastered by you and not by your players. You are the creator and final arbiter. A friggin' men, Gary Gygax.
Gary knew what he was on about with this. I mean, I guess the fact that there existed like rules lawyers back then says something, but Gary just comes in first edition in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I'm pretty sure this is right near the beginning. He says this.
Oh, so that was in the original DM guide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that so good?
I mean, it's poetically perfect.
Mm-hmm. Just the decline from Gary coming in and saying that to now in the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide. I think the little paragraph containing this information, a version of this information, a very watered down version, is like tucked away in it. Like, do you know where it is in the DM's Guide?
I have no idea. I'm sure I haven't seen it.
That's the thing. It's not in the beginning. Like, it's tucked away in there, and that is absurd. Like, shoot, the DM's a player. They need to have fun too, but balancing everyone else's fun. We get it, but like this, it's so important.
And in a perfect game, all right, your DM is making calls all the time, and some of them are bad for the players. That's usually when the players pipe up, when like something happens. Something bad happens to your player character, and all of a sudden that player character starts complaining about the rules, about, oh, you can't do that. Or, well, I have this piece of magic item and I have this spell active, and they go on and on and on. And basically, if you let your player filibuster on and on, they will be able to come up with some bullshit way to avoid it entirely. Instead of just saying like, oh, okay, my character fell off the bridge, and now I'm in the water. How am I gonna have to figure this out? Like that's the system of 5th edition.
See, and that's exciting. That's exciting. My player fell off the bridge. I'm in the water. What do I do? Instead of just, no, I'm safe on the bridge. Haha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there needs to be 5th edition lacks this mutual respect between the player and DM.
It doesn't give the DM a lot of authority.
Yes.
It gives a lot of authority to the player,
which is bad.
Yes, it is.
Because your players, well, they want to have fun.
And they are the final arbiters instead of you.
They will always pick what's best for the players and not what's best for the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where the DM's guide is to make sure the players are having fun, but also to tell a concise, layered narrative.
Right, that interests you, that you're excited about.
Yes,
and that's why you run D&D.
Because the DM needs to be having fun. There's nothing worse than spending a week prepping for a session, and then you play, and the DM has no fun. It's terrible.
It is.
We've all been there.
And, to a certain extent with players, I get it. We're at the dungeon. We want to go over this way. Look around. DM, I'm not prepared for that. I think in every edition that's happened. But,
and that's fine. You got to think on your feet.
Right, but I think in 5th edition, to the extent of, let's veer all the way off the path. All the way off. Not mildly. to where we can return and, like, we know, we signed up to dungeon crawl in this dungeon that you made. We want to check over here real quick. Oh, that's super cool. Okay, we want to do that, though. No, it's just completely, let's set fire to an orphanage, ruin our reputation in this town, and not be able to complete the quest at all.
Yeah. How many times have you heard a player go, like, oh yeah, I played my first game, didn't even enter the dungeon. Why would I? It's like, okay, well, I bet you think you're pretty funny, but congratulations for ruining everyone's fun.
Yeah, exactly. That actually happened to me. I was some guy, I told him I'd get a game together, and I was talking to this other guy, and that's basically exactly what he said. Like, oh yeah, I know. We like murdered half the village and got away in a cart. It was awesome. And it's kind of like, oh, good for you, man. I don't want you in my game.
No. But again, that is the system as intended. And the 5e characters were designed to be
strong as fuck.
A min-maxy, just beefy block of stats.
A beefy block, right. A labyrinthine block of stats and abilities and powers.
And if your character sheet is so strong, there's no need for player skill or creative thinking.
Right, you don't even need to cooperate with other players at that point.
Nope, and like items? What are those?
Exactly. Oh, what? I have this dungeoneering pack? Oh, that's
the
useless. Throw that away. When am I going to get a magic sword?
What is a piton? A steel piton.
Oh, what? I can use this to shove underneath the door to keep monsters out? Why on earth would I do that when I could just kill them instantly?
Yeah. Precisely. Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely. You have become deranged.
My players are anonymous troll demons at this point. And in 5e, and isn't this exciting? Wizards found a way to balance out the power of magic users, right? Oh, they have magic. That's so strong. Let's just give everyone magic. That'll solve
it. Yippee! Again, more of that. If everything is the same, will appeal to everyone. I want my fighter to cast spells and my wizard to swing a sword really good.
'Cause that's their intended role, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's everyone's the same. Like, okay, the idea of a fighter who can use some magic,
that's neat.
That is neat, but the way it's done, it's just not that interesting.
Well, there's circling back a little bit. So there's so many subclasses. There's a subclass for everything, which at that point makes your main class irrelevant.
Yeah, no, the subclasses are what people want more so than the main class. Like, okay, I'm just a warlock, right? But here's the thing, with my subclass, I am the abyssal warlock. Now, that abyssal, that's what I want. When am I going to get my next subclass ability? I'm an echo fighter. I'm a druid of the night, whatever it is.
Yeah, and with all these powerful characters running around, so say you have a, pretty typical game, four players, one DM.
Mm-hmm.
Unless your DM is veering off the course of the book big time, there are going to be very low stakes at all times.
Yeah, there will.
Because if you follow the guides outlined in the DM's guide, what was a challenging encounter for 4 level 1 PCs, like 3 goblins?
Yeah, and that system's even then just busted in general.
Yeah, it's the DM's role to challenge the players, but that's hard to do in 5th edition when all your characters have tons of hit points. An AC level 1 AC of 19 or something stupid.
People can easily get it to 20.
Yeah, easily AC 20 level 1. It's very, very common.
Very, very common. And with that too, like you were just saying, the encounter design that they're taught makes it really easy for them regardless of them being super strong.
Yeah, you have to, as a player, you have to make the conscious choice to nerf yourself. Like, the system encourages you to min-max. If you don't want to, if you want to tell a more narrative, free-flowing character, you have to nerf yourself. For example, the great Sir Wirt Hornswoggle, my Bullywug Bard, alright? He started with 8 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
I could have taken the average when I leveled up, but that's not fun.
No.
So I rolled the dice. I got a 1. My DM said, do you want to just take the average? I said, no, I rolled the dice, I'll keep it. Level 3 now. I'm gonna roll the dice again. I rolled it. Another 1. So I'm leveled 3 with 10 hit points and like an AC of like 15. Alright? Stat wise, terrible. Way weaker than everybody else. But from a narrative point of view, it was super fun to be this teeny guy who gets beat up every fight.
And I'm sure for the other players too.
He was.
I wonder if they can.
He was the most loved character in the group.
There we go. There we go. And do you mind me asking, were the other characters, did they do something similar to that, or were they like normal 5e characters?
Yeah, mostly normal 5e characters. And again, can't blame them. You know, the system wants you to create the most... It's a power fantasy, so it wants you to make the most OP, ridiculous character possible, and you're given all the tools.
Mm-hmm. And even then, I think there's a player mindset of, oh, I don't want my character to die. You know, I've gotten attached to it. And it's kind of like, well, you know, you should get attached to your character, but not wanting them to die? Why even play then? Just like write a short fiction novel about them then.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be the risk of death around every corner.
That makes it all worth it, man. And, okay, speaking of risks, though, rewards. 5e rewards suck.
Yeah.
They really do. Like, how long till I get just a +1 short sword? Oh, I'm level 4? Now I can have +1 short sword? Okay. I have like 20 silver pieces and 200 gold pieces also, and I'm a level 4, you know, beefy adventurer who's gone in like 5 dungeons. This is cool with me, I guess. Like,
yeah, money doesn't mean anything in that game.
No.
Literally, yeah, almost nothing.
It's just
unless you're incredibly stingy as a DM, which you should be.
In 5e, I'll agree. In 5e, I'll agree. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because in older editions of the game, sure, you just found, 10,000 gold coins in the dungeon.
Yeah.
How are you going to get it out, Sam?
Oh, well, my players would say, all right, we have a bag of holding. We can fit at least half of that in that. And then I have to remind them, what about everything you got in there? All right, good point. Let's do a bunch of math. Okay, we'll bring some treasure chests back, and we'll bring some men to help us. But then we're going to need to defend those men as they carry them out. All right, we'll hire some men-at-arms to defend them. We'll spearhead it, because they won't go in first. And we'll create this wagon train from the bottom of the dungeon all the way up.
What if there's a mutiny, and some of the workers run off with a few wagons full of gold?
Knowing my players, that's when we go, okay, half of us need to stay here and watch the rest of them. Our fast ones will go and shoot them in the back.
That is a whole session right there, just getting the treasure out of the dungeon, where in 5th edition,
I have infinite carrying capacity.
Yeah, because your DM's probably going to say, like, I'm not going to keep track of that, and I can't really blame them. You have 500 gold in your pocket, and you can now afford everything you ever need at any time. Money's never going to be an issue. Because when have you gone into a shop in 5th edition D&E and not been able to afford
It's item? Literally because, even for everything, too, when players go in there, it's like, all right, I'm going to haggle them down.
Yeah.
You don't even need, just buy the thing. Don't spend 10 extra minutes
my God.
haggling him down.
Haggling, threatening every shopkeep ever.
He has a health potion. He's just not giving it to me. I'm going to threaten him. Dude, this is a town in the middle of nowhere. Do you think everyone can just make health potions? Why do you think this?
They can in 5th edition.
Well, and people coming in from, like, MMOs and stuff, too. Like, wait, where do I buy these potions for the stat buffs? It's kind of like, well, those are pretty rare. What? Yeah. It's...
Yeah, well, that's an issue with 5th edition towns. Every town has everything you need, and every town is Mos Eisley. Sam, hit me with the Mos Eisley Cantina music. Every town is Mos Eisley. You have 50 different races living in perfect harmony
in this one teeny little
town, and that's fine. But the problem is, they're not actually 50 different races. They're just 50 different colored humans.
Yep. There's nothing to separate a short manlet, aka the dwarf, from the.
Did you say short manlet?
Yeah, short manlet.
I like that.
Thank you. The short manlet from the, look at my tiefling.
Yeah, because again, out of the book, you're given just humans with different stats. That is all. And your DM, unless they're going through the work to make these races unique and different, because, a dwarf should not act like a human, who should not act like a high elf.
Right.
Who should not act like an infernal tiefling, These are very different. They should have different personalities, different cultures.
There is a different species-wise morality. You know, a dwarf does not give a flying fuck about a forest being demolished. No dwarf would ever do that. They'd go, oh, I hate nature. That's good. We can now build up our minds faster.
You leaf lovers.
Exactly. Meanwhile, an elf being underground should probably feel mildly uncomfortable by, like, I can't see the sky. There's almost no living plant life. Just this is not where I'm supposed to be.
An elf will go underground, while a dwarf will not. Oh, I'd never heard the end of it. No, I completely agree. I mean, look at human life, human history, IRL. Okay, we are all humans. We are all the same race.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're a different religion? I'm gonna burn you at the stake.
Exactly.
You're a little on the swarthy side over there. Boys, grab the ropes. You know, like we bicker and fight for thousands of years, but in 5th edition D&D, all these actual different races, not skin colors, like
right, they have different minds. They literally, their mind and mental processes are different.
Completely different cultures, completely different religions, but they're all living in perfect harmony. You'll go into a bar and see 15 different races.
Yeah, not to mention the abundance of half-elves for some reason. Elves, why would elves ever do that? They look at humans and go, ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Disgusting.
Exactly. Those half-orcs, though. They had the right idea.
I'm not commenting on that, Josh. And all the settings, too. I feel like people just ignore the recommendations, even, you know, like for the box settings, like Eberron or Dragonlance, you know? Doesn't matter, still humans. I guess Dragonlance is actually very human-centric, but...
Yeah, and all these different races, too, it's all just, again, it's that soft, quirky fantasy. It's like, oh, I'm getting a tabaxi is serving my drink, and...
Oh, look, there's a satyr over there.
Yeah, there's a satyr dancing in the corner while some gnomes are all, you know, cohorting in the back table. It breaks my suspension of disbelief immediately. Unless you're in, like, a wacky setting, like...
Oh, right, like Planescape. Or maybe in Planescape I could see something like that.
Planescape or, like, the Underdark, you can see all kinds of weird stuff.
Yes, the Underdark's very good.
But I'm talking about your basic bitch, level 1 town tavern.
Right. So that should... Okay.
That has 15 different races in it, living in perfect harmony.
It's horrible. And once again, okay, we're trying to provide some solutions, you know, so we're not constantly doing it. Let's take the small mining town of Grek. Right? Small mining town of Grek. You know, it's importing its goods. Maybe there's 75 people living there, kind of on and off permanently. Go into the tavern. Bunch of rough, you know, just roughneck miners. And then there's the one dwarf. One dwarf. All the humans go, oh yeah, the one dwarf Gimli. Yeah, oh, that's our dwarf. You know, he's been with us for years. He's really good at doing all the mining and stuff. We love him. But then they see, like, the party elf, and they go, ooh, what's that thing? We're going to shy away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then, you know, the one unique thing, then they're going to want to go, oh, there's a dwarf. Let's go talk to him. Because suddenly,
he's one special.
Random dwarf. Yes.
Just by nature of just slimming down diversity in these taverns, in towns, like, you can make your NPCs way more special.
Right. So much more. Oh boy.
This is a big one. Gameplay.
So,
Sam, give me a perception check.
Yeah.
Oh, you failed. Give me an insight check.
Oh, I failed. Can I use my passive perception, actually?
Yeah. Give me a passive perception check.
Okay. What do I roll for that?
Just roll another perception check.
Okay, that one was a natural 20.
Oh, okay. You see writings on the wall.
Okay. Do I?
And it says,
do I speak? Are they elf? Are they elven?
Yes. Give me a history check.
Oh, okay. That's a 2 plus 0, 2.
5e outsources creativity 2 dice rolls,
and it doesn't do it well. Because here's the thing: you can do it well. The Call of Cthulhu is a very skill-based system, but it feels good. Like, just looking it over, The way they do it is very good.
Explain.
Explain? Okay. So, you have a lot of skill points to distribute into, like, 50 skills. Maybe not 50, but a lot. So, you're going to be pretty bad at most of them. But the way... You don't really level up, so to speak. But rather, every time you successfully do a skill, at the end of the game, you roll a D100. If you roll above your skill, that skill improves by 1d6. So you physically feel your characters getting better as you do stuff.
Better at the things you do. It's not just like I leveled up and now all of a sudden I'm better at acrobatics.
Right. And with that too, it has to, because your stats are so spread out, you'll be good at like one or two things. You have to get really creative with like, okay, let's try not to use this skill, but just think of some creative way to do this. In 5e, because of the limited number of skills and the sheer amount of dexterity skills, jeepers. Just, it does not do it well. It does not do it well.
No, and one of the biggest problems for me is now all of a sudden your player is only expected to roll the dice. Mm-hmm. Now the DM has to be the creative one. All the creative burden's on the DM, which is a big problem in 5th edition. For example,
Josh, I'm going to roll to convince the goblin that all of the other goblins secretly want to kill him. Oh, that's a 26 counting my bonuses to deception.
Yeah.
How does he do it? You're the DM. Perhaps a little exaggerated.
Gork sad. But yeah, so it's... Exactly. So your players don't have to be creative. How do they jump over the pit? Does the player narrate how he grabs a long stick, runs, and pole vaults over the side? And you don't have to roll any dice because he narrated it in a cool, plausible way? No, it's a, hey, give me an acrobatics check. Oh.
Can I do athletics instead? I have a higher strength.
Yeah, that's fine. 25. You jump over and do a quadruple backflip.
And then you land perfectly on your feet.
And land in superhero pose, like on one knee with the hand on it.
Wasn't that awesome?
Isn't that really cool when every single skill check is like that?
Yeah, because players are also only going to use the skills that they're proficient with. And then they'll say, all right, who's proficient with speech? I'm not. I only have a +1. Oh, he has a +6? Have him go do it.
Yeah, which is why we should just remove all skills.
So in my version of 5th edition, which I don't do very much because it's not my favorite, I've just removed all skills.
Yeah.
Just all of them.
Yeah, if they want to do something.
How are you going to do it?
They tell you how they do it.
Right, and for things like identifying animals, like if a ranger wants to do it, all right, make a nature check. Literally, it should just be like, oh yeah, you're a ranger. You've been in these woods for how long? You said, yeah, you know what that is. You don't need to roll.
Not everything needs to be a skill check, but that's, again, out of the box.
Everything is.
Everything's a skill check, and then you'll watch these games, or you'll participate in them, and it's just check. That's the game. You're replacing narrative
and player
skill with the D20 roll, and chances are the players in 5th edition are going to finagle the DM and haggle him over and over again until they succeed.
Come on, can't I get advantage?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they can always come up with some bullshit excuse of why they should have advantage.
Yeah, they should. And that extends to combat too.
I'm not bitter, Sam.
Oh, neither of us are. We're happy, jolly, go lucky.
Yeah, and I completely agree about combat.
I swing my sword. Oh, I do a triple stab. Oh, I
stab him in the eye. I stab him in the eye. I did 2 damage, but I want to blind him.
You barely miss his eye and stab him in the cheek. Oh, okay, fine.
Oh.
Like, and it's the same way for monsters too. Like oh, the monster claws ya. Oh, big old gashes. Oh, you stab the skeleton and knock off some ribs. I actually might be giving too much detail in these descriptions.
Yes.
Yeah, you hit the skeleton.
Yeah,
the skeleton hits you.
Which goes into one of my biggest problems with 5th edition is the burden of DMing. Too much of the creative burden and expectation of entertaining the group is placed on the DM.
And honestly, I feel like more than just that's been placed. Like there was that one, I think it was Professor Dungeon Master. Do you know him?
I do not.
He's really good. He's a very much an old school player, but he was saying like in 5th edition, the burden of being a GM is you need to come up with an entertaining story. You need to make sure all the players are having fun. You need to be a group therapist. You need to be this lore master. You need to be a rules book. Just, players expect so much when playing 5th edition out of the GM. And most GMs are not well equipped to be able to do that.
No, they're not. And then you feel like you're failing as a GM when the players aren't having fun in this system, when it's kind of, in my experience, kind of designed to fail.
Yeah. Oh, very much
because
so.
all the players have to do, you just spent a week prepping.
Mm-hmm.
Getting all these NPCs, the adventure ready.
And it's not like it's easy to do. It's pretty complex.
Remembering rules, changing rules to make them better. And the players show up, and the only thing they have to do is roll a d20.
And everything gets mucked up.
And then they expect you to narrate everything. Like, where if you, like we were just talking about, if you cut out skill checks, now all of a sudden your players are forced to be creative.
Oh, I actually have a backpack. Hold on. Oh, I have some rope in there, guys. We don't need to make an athletics check. I'll just tie this and we'll climb down.
Yeah, no checks required.
Great!
And how simple is that? And if you also, did you just say backpack? Are you talking about using items in creative ways? Because guess what? If you take away player options, okay, players have too many powerful options, you take away a lot of those.
Suddenly, we have to start thinking.
That crowbar in your backpack is pretty freaking handy now.
Yeah, it is.
When you have to open a door and you can't just, roll a 27 and punch straight through it.
Precisely so. Precisely so. Just take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, Sam. It's okay.
Yeah.
Have some marijuana.
Possibly legal. Yeah, Big Scorch, you're doing it.
Yeah, I know what I mean.
I could have made that joke, but I didn't. Ooh, Josh, do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about this next one?
Ooh, point 3?
Point 3.
Okay, take it away, Sam.
Much of 5e is spent out of the dungeon, which personally, as I'm sure you know, Josh, I very much don't like. Taking the dungeons and the dragons out of Dungeons and Dragons.
Now we just have dragons.
No, we don't even have that.
What the hell?
But the favorite. Every DM thinks they come up with one. But the wacky, fun, kooky characters everywhere.
Well, yeah, because the DM, you used to be constrained to a dungeon, which was very reasonable for a dungeon master to create a complete dungeon, NPCs, traps, everything, and they know it inside and out. But now 5th edition, the DM is expected to create the world. Everything. And the players, they might choose to go wherever the hell they want. And you have to be ready for it. So how do you entertain them, Sam?
Excuse me, travelers. I am Quilonius Thatch, and I am a traveling merchant. A merchant of what? A merchant of maps. Perhaps this dungeon you would like to go to, No? Well,
I like Colonius.
Thank you.
But, yeah, you're just expected to make these wacky characters. And again, I think Critical Role kind of poisoned the well here.
From what I've seen of Matt, he seems like a good DM, but keep in mind, that's radio. That's not actual D&D, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely. When you're entertaining an audience, you're not playing the best D&D most of the time.
Most of the time.
I think there are exceptions.
I'm neutral. We'll say that. I'm neutral on that. But in 5e, particularly, there isn't a huge attachment to NPCs unless they're weird and quirky and like, oh, he's my cute little sidekick mascot buddy.
Yeah, and if not, your NPCs or your PCs just kind of bully the NPCs because your PCs, your player characters are so powerful and the NPC schmucks are so weak.
Yeah.
They can just push them around and there's no consequences.
No, even like the town guard, I'll call the town guard, yeah, so what? We'll just kill them all.
Yeah, exactly. In 5th edition, you can. In older editions, or if you dumb down 5th edition.
I actually have a point to that. So, when I started just getting sick of 5th edition, I made Earl Grey tea. A super overpowered time wizard. I wanted to see, number 1, will the DM let me make an absurdly powerful character? And number 2, if I try to kill myself, will I actually be able to? The answer? Yes, I was able to make a super powerful character. And the answer to the latter, no, I couldn't kill myself. Literally teleporting in, casting Fireball Center on myself. Still lived.
Nothing.
Fell off 2,000-foot cliffs. Still lived. Now, the one, he was getting sick. So going back to the point, he was getting sick of this. So he's like, just to let you guys know, this guy's a level 12 fighter. And it was like the bar owner. And still, even with that knowledge, all the PCs unanimously agreed, yeah, we can take him. And we were all like level 3.
Yeah, I bet you waffle stomped his ass.
No, he waffle stomped us and then let us live.
Ah.
And we were just kind of like, dude, we just killed 5 people in your bar. One of us got away with like half your savings. And you're just like, yeah, you're just troublemakers. I get it. You're adventurers. You guys just go out. Just don't come back, you know? It's absurd.
At least kill one. Send a message.
Exactly. Just
chop off each one. Chop off a hand off each character.
Exactly.
Something cool.
And then, that'd be a cool narrative thing. Even like, okay, now we want to get revenge against this guy. That's great. That's so much more interesting than just whatever you were trying to do. But, yeah.
So we've talked about solutions to these problems throughout this podcast, but general idea is they're not baked into the products. You have to change the game to make it fun. Like D&D out of the box, out of the book, 5th edition, I don't think is fun. I've played a lot of 5th edition games right out of the box. Not that fun. I've also had exceptional DMs, and it's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a blast because 5th edition's fun. It's a blast because they had to change everything to make it fun.
I agree. I 100% agree with you, Josh. 5e, by making it accessible, right? That accessibility comes because the players are strong. They have all these abilities. And for a few sessions, it feels awesome doing whatever the hell you want.
The power fantasy can be very appealing to a lot of people.
It can. And with that being said, 5e, I think, does have one major strength. With a good DM, right, that can actually make interesting encounters, knows good loot, and knows the players, so the players themselves, they're not randos. I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
5e, I say, would be great. And so when I run 5e now, this is what I call it, my epic one-shots. Running a one-shot's an art. It's really hard to do. But 5e is amazing for like epic power fantasy one-shots.
Power fantasy one-shot. I completely agree. Those are when we have the most fun.
100%.
Like 5th edition.
I ran one, miniatures and all, where they fought a young white dragon. Someone died because of the dragon. The rest of them were super low. And it was epic. There was one room with a bunch of zombies that they were able to super easily take out. That was the room where they're like, yeah, we're strong, we're good. And then the other rooms were a little harder. There were some trips and traps, but they got through it. They were able to heal themselves. But then the dragon, that's where it really shined. Gave the dragon a few extra abilities.
Man. Game over.
Let it do it. So much fun. My players, they still talk about it. Like, it's amazing. They're still like, whenever like the best game of 5e's brought up, they will bring up that game. Like, that was freaking awesome. Yeah. Someone died. It was awesome.
Which
we did this thing.
So counter to the Critical Role model. The Critical Role model is we're going to do an epic campaign we're going to play every week for 3 years and tell this gigantic convoluted story, which I think is the game's weakest part. Because the power fantasy, at least for me, gets old pretty damn quick.
There's no risk.
And for the DM too. I mean, as a DM, I'm telling this story. You're not supposed to really root for a side. But it sucks when every challenge you throw at the players is just batted down.
Right. Just brute force your way through it with skills or combat.
Yeah. That's the solution to every problem. No thought required.
None. So, looking into this.
You want to touch on Wizards of the Coast at all?
Wizards of the Coast? They bad.
Yeah, bad. Much has been said. I don't think we could shed any new light on the situation.
Well, actually, you probably shouldn't. They might send the Pinkertons after us.
Oh, no.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So that's kind of the shit cherry on top of this vanilla puddle sundae, is that the game is produced by a garbage company.
And all the book bindings fall apart super quick, and the products are very low quality. Just
that $50 book you just bought?
I bought the collector's edition, and all of their bindings
You did?
are falling apart. I did because it was cheap on it.
What's the matter with you? What the fuck is the matter with you?
That's when I was playing it like regularly, and I didn't realize I can play something else.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So again, we talked about the solutions that make the game better.
But just play something else.
Just play something else. You don't play Morkborg. Go try out Zero E.
Zero E. Mm-hmm.
You will have fun. It is so simple. It forces you to be creative. You will use that 10-foot pole.
Oh, yes, you will.
To great effect.
And there's so many ways you can use it, too. Whether that's pole vaulting, searching for traps, poking monsters in the eye.
Hanging over a pit so that the ogre can't find you.
Yes.
It encourages... Less is more.
Less is so much more. There are 4 main classes. That's it.
And they're stat locked.
Yes, they are.
So chances are you're going to be the shitty human rogue.
No, thief.
Thief, that's right.
Yeah. And guess what? You're going to suck because you roll 3d6 for every stat and you don't choose where they go. You roll strength first, then you roll dexterity.
Yes, which means you're not coming in there with some preconceived notion of your character. You know, you may have wanted to be the big strong guy, but guess what? You got a 3 in strength.
You're not Horgak, the strong, beefy fighter. You are Sneevar the Rat Man.
Sneevar the Rat. I think he got cut in half, like, immediately.
Yes, he did.
From a trap. But it was so much fun.
3 skeletons versus... No, it was 2 skeletons versus 2 players.
I think it was a scythe trap.
Oh, no, the scythe trap kills Sneevar, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm thinking, like, 2 skeletons were enough to give 4 player characters, like, oh, no.
Yeah, like, shit, we're doomed.
We're doomed. Which, by the way, so, if I recommend anything to switching, you know, trying out a more deadly, more thought-provoking game, try Moldve Basic. It was designed to literally be, like, the entry point for children. It is a lot of fun. And it's very simple. And guess what? You can find free PDFs basically everywhere. Like,
really?
Just literally look up Moldve Basic Dungeons and Dragons, and the first thing will be a PDF. Just click on it.
How do you spell that, Sam?
Moldvay Basic Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. I haven't done that yet.
It's the one with the red cover. But with that, Josh, do you have anything else you want to get out?
I just need to feel something.
Like a purple skunk girl. We're high IQ. This is really tired.
These are the joke, kids. Yeah, let's touch on a few more solutions, just super quick, rapid fire.
Okay.
All right, monsters. We already touched on them, but they're boring. They need overhauls to become interesting and threatening. You can do this in 5th edition. Give them cool, unique actions, things that are not in the book. Make the orc feel like an orc.
And you can even come up with it on the spot if you think it's good.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It's so easy.
Do not be afraid to deviate from the books in 5th edition. That's how you make it fun.
Especially in the moment. Like, yeah. I feel like most of my great ideas come in the moment.
Yeah. Have
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the monster does something crazy. It's like, oh, the ogres can't do that. Like, okay, well, this one can.
Yeah, this is Horvath. He's a named ogre.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, wait, why is he not constantly doing that cool thing? And then you just go, oh yeah, it's on a recharge. You literally just bullshit it with that.
Yeah, make it sound official, but you can deviate from the book, and your players will have more fun, and you will be having more fun as the DM running these more interesting combat encounters.
100%.
Yeah, and like, combat needs to be streamlined and made more interesting and interactive. Any player has experienced this specifically. I'm going to talk about, like, my lovely wife Ashley always tells me, 5e combat sucks because you wait 40 minutes for your turn goes, you roll the d20, you roll the 3, you miss the goblin, have fun sitting there for another 45 minutes. Whoa. You need to overhaul the whole system.
Yes, you do. 100%.
It's got to be more interactive, less player downtime.
Make the players actually, like, actively think, not just, you know, think when it's their turn.
Yeah. And when it is their turn, swing sword should not be the only and best option every time.
Yeah, like,
even though it often is.
I know it's, if you're a DM, I know it's in your mind where, like, a player says, okay, I want to jump off this rock and try to hang off the ogre's back and stab him. I know, because it was for me for such a long time. I had to, like, train this out of me where I just said, okay, that's going to be a pretty high roll. Make the high roll them doing exactly that. But if they roll decently, Let them hang off the ogre's back and start to choke the ogre, because that is so much more interesting.
Or they jump, the ogre takes a step forward, and they pull his pants down. But they deal no damage, but now his pants are at his ankle.
Right, and he might trip.
Yeah.
That is so much more interesting, and that's so much more fun.
Maybe he trips backwards and sits on them.
Yes.
And like Andre the Giant just starts farting all over them.
That would be awesome. Your players would literally talk about that. Like, oh, remember when Norvern? Remember when he like tripped the ogre and he was sat on and he smelled awful and attacked a bunch of monsters towards him after.
Yeah, that's where the fun is. It shouldn't just be.
I murdered a whole orphanage and set fire to the village.
Yeah, and dice rolls shouldn't just be succeed or fail.
Right, like guess what? You can like half succeed.
Yes.
You know, it's not an all or nothing endeavor.
And that's where a lot of that narrative fun comes from. And you have to actively force players to think creatively about problem solving rather than just having them chuck a die. This is a hard one. Because you have to psycho condition your players to do this by taking away their options and rewarding them for being creative.
And you have to do it very delicately. And that's the problem, especially in 5e, because when you say, no, you can't do that ability.
But I want to do that!
Right, but it's also like, well, listen, that's a class feature of mine. It's this, and this. I specifically chose it for that. Now, some players might be devious and try to weasel their way in, but there are, I'd say, a good amount of players where it's like, oh, that feels bad. You know, when the DM's like, just no.
Yeah.
Because they do it at inappropriate times when the player probably should just be able to, do his cool thing.
Yeah.
The Timmy thing. Like, I want to just do my cool thing. Please.
Yes, I think, and man, a lot of my philosophy comes from Matt Colville. And the whole thing is like, don't say no, say yes, but. That doesn't mean you give them exactly what they want. A lot of the times you won't.
But it's just hearing the yes, and whatever condition comes after, that feels a hell of a lot better.
And it's more interesting.
Yes, it is. I'm very thankful. My main group, I got them in at 0E from the beginning, so they were conditioned from the start to think creativity. And I would say, even in 5th edition, their players are probably better than like the 5e players who started out with it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of teaches you, the older editions kind of teach you how to have fun in RPGs, how to have more fun. So any prospective DMs out there, do yourself a favor, do your players a favor.
Moldvay Basic is free. You can print it out if you like physical things, but it's free and super easy to learn.
Yeah, try something. Start simple, start small, start fun.
It's literally one book for everything you'll need to play the game. DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, all in one. It's perfect. Just show the players the beginning of it, and then it has handy reference tables that are actually useful. Just guys. And maybe the singular gal, if there even is one. Not just guys.
Girls are yucky.
Girls aren't online. But please try it. They'll have a lot of fun. And there's a huge community who loves it, so you'll easily be able to have questions answered, and there's a bunch of support, a bunch of unique character sheets. It's so cool. Do it.
And with that call to action, Sam, I think that's it.
It's been wonderful ranting about this, Josh.
This was cathartic. I needed this. It's been brewing in my gut for years. And I could never quite put my finger on what I disliked about it. Well, about 5e. And now we have.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think so. We've been rambling for 1 hour now.
Holy shit.
And hopefully the finished product won't be this long. I feel sorry for you listeners if it is.
Oh, they should like listening to us, Josh. You like us, right? I hope you do.
Am I not merciful?
Am I not merciful? We are rivers
to our people. Exactly. Well said. Spoken like a man.
Amen. But well, yeah, with that,
thank you, Samuel.
Oh, thank you, Josh. This was very good. And thank you to all our dear listeners,
I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Well, that concludes our episode for today. We'll catch you guys next time.
Ta-ta. Sayonara. Goodbye.
Au revoir.